Okay, rotation questions. These are pretty similar to reflection questions, but instead you just rotate something. So in these questions you're likely going to have some of your answer options be reflections, and that's just how they try and trick you. The shape itself doesn't change size, and again it doesn't add any features. It can be rotated either way, clockwise or anti-clockwise, depending on what they ask you to do, and they can rotate it as different amounts. So they might ask you to, like they do in the clock, they might ask you to rotate it only a quarter turn, and they might ask you to do a whole half turn, which will get you to 9, or 3/4, which will get you to 12. And you can see here the same thing with the hand. Everything is kept the same. It's still the same hand, still the thumb on the left side, and it's rotated to here. If you're going to reflect it, actually, if you reflect it across here, the thumb would be on the right, so it'd be a different hand. Again, like we talked about reflection, you start from the closest point and you move it like that, and then you'd have the thumb down here. That's a reflection question, and sometimes you'll get this one of those as an option to sort of trick you. Okay, let's go over the approach. I mean, the main thing here is watching out for the stripes again. This time the stripes shouldn't change at all. They should always be facing the same direction. So like it says here, if the stripes are pointing upwards and you're rotating it, make sure it's still pointing in the same direction. So how I like to think of it is if it's pointing towards this long line, which is called the hypotenuse of a triangle, and when it's rotated downwards, it should still be pointing this way. If it's rotated this way, it should still be pointing that way, you know. Okay, let's go on to some example questions. So there's one here, and then I'll choose a few more probably from the worksheets and go through them. So which one is a rotation of the main shape here? Well, first of all, there's a few here that I think just are the wrong shape entirely. How I'm going to figure that out is first I'm going to look at these little spiky things. So there's 3 spiky things here. C has 4 spiky things, so I'm going to cancel that out. What else can I look at? I can look at where the arrow is. So the arrow is pointing to this big section here, and then it should have this little section outside of it. This is completely wrong shape, A. Again, D, very wrong shape. This is fine, I think, yeah. So we were left with 2 options basically that are the right shape. What I can see though is this B is a reflection. So if I draw it out, it will get us this little spiky thing in the top left, and then if I finish drawing it out like this, it sort of comes out like this, right? And that is a reflection across a vertical axis. A reflection can never be a rotation, because if you try and rotate this thing all the way around, basically you'll never have it so that the spiky things is on the left. So if you notice a reflection, just immediately cancel it out, and that will give you the answer option of E. And you can see that actually all they've done in E is they've just rotated it downwards a bit, anti-clockwise a bit, 90 degrees I think that is, and you can see that the arrow is pointing from up to the left, and then everything else is rotated as well. But yeah, perfect. Let's do some of the rotation questions here. So I'm only going to do one here because this is a pretty simple topic. This is I think it said anti-clockwise. No, these are clockwise rotations. So let's quickly do this one. So this is 90 degree clockwise is what it asked us to do, meaning it's just going to rotate like this. So 90 degrees. The reason I'm drawing this axis is you can either rotate all the way around, which is 360, or you can rotate 90 degrees here. So each of these is a 90 degree turn, and again you can imagine it like a clock. So you've got 12 o'clock here, 6, 3 and 9. So each of these is a 90 degree turn basically. So it's asking us to go from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So that means that whichever way this is pointing, so I like to draw an arrow on the top of it, If this is pointing upwards, for example the 27 is pointing upwards, that means it has to point sideways this way when we're done. And actually, if I look at some of these, for example A, the 27 is pointing the wrong way. This one is pointing that way, and it's also in the wrong position, so I'm going to cancel out A and B. This is 72, so I'm going to cancel that out. And okay, so these two are pointing the right direction, so these have been rotated 90 degrees. What I'm talking about here is just the top of the 27, right? This section should be pointing up, and then when you rotate it, it should be pointing to the right. So I've cancelled out all of these, we're left with just one. The only difference here is which way the R is pointing, and it'll be the same thing. If it's pointing upwards at the start, it should be pointing to the right when we're done, and this one is pointing the wrong direction. So I'm just going to cancel out C, and that leaves us with the option of E. But yeah, that is rotation. Hopefully that was useful, and I'll see you in the next video.